In this video, we're going to recap how to draw and interpret line graphs. What is a line graph? A line graph is used to display information which changes over time. It is plotted on a graph as a series of points joined with straight lines. Therefore, it's really important that for this tutorial you have a ruler and a sharp pencil. We're going to be focusing this tutorial on this sheet here, which went home in Year 4's pack for the first week. Okay, we're going to be looking at the one with the months and the temperature on. There is one on the other side. We're looking at the months sheet. So when creating a line graph, we must think about lots of different things. The title of the graph. What is the graph giving us information about? The x-axis of the graph, which is the horizontal axis. The y-axis of the graph, which is the vertical axis, and I use the y to help me remember it's the vertical axis. And the scale, which is a set of numbers that help us to measure or quantify the information. So let's look at our table of information on our sheet. We need to plot this information onto our graph. Notice that it's presented in a table with the data in rows and in columns. So looking at this table and the information in our table, what do we think our title will be? It's given us months of the year, J standing for January, F for February, March, April, May, etc. And it's got a temperature in degrees Celsius. Above our table it says average daily maximum temperature in London during the year. So that tells us what the information is about. Okay, so we can use that for our table. So using a ruler and a sharp pencil, you can pop your title up at the top. So something along the lines of average daily maximum temperature in London. Okay. Then we've got to draw our axes. So I'm going to try and make the most of the space here. And then we can think about our scale and the labelling of our axes afterwards. So as we're drawing over the top of blue lines, you might need to press quite hard with your pencil in order to see your axes. That's my y-axis. And my x-axis. We might not use the whole axes as of yet because we haven't plotted our x and our y, so let's wait and have a look. So my x-axis, my horizontal, it's normally the non-numerical data that sits on that axis. Can you tell me from the information in our table what we're going to plot along our x-axis? Our non-numerical data is the months of the year. Okay, so at the bottom I'm going to label it months. And my y-axis, my vertical axis, is going to be temperature, the numerical data. So I'm going to underline that there to make that look nice and smart. And then if you want to, you can turn your paper here and it's really important that you put our unit of measurement on our y-axis as well, so we can see what it's being measured in, because it could be being measured in Fahrenheit. Okay, so if we took away the table, we know what our temperature is being measured in. Next, we need to think about our scale. Okay, so recapping back to the start of the video, the scale is a set of numbers that help to measure or quantify the information. Okay, so we're thinking about the scale that goes up our y-axis. What scale should we use? So let's look at our data in our table. Let's see if we can find the highest and the lowest pieces of data. our lowest piece of data is 4 degrees Celsius, and our highest piece of data is 18 degrees Celsius. Okay, so the highest our line graph is going to go is to 18 degrees, and the lowest our line graph is going to go is to 4 degrees. So I'm going to, for my graph, round it up to 20 degrees Celsius, because that's quite close to 18, and it gives it a nice finish. So let's have a look, starting right in the corner here, presuming that this is 0 here in the corner of our graph. Let's see if we can do a scale counting in ones. We've got to be able to get to 20. 1 degrees, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So a scale of 1 is not going to work, because it only takes us to 12 degrees. We need to get to 20. Let's try a scale of 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, that looks like it works. So I'm going to label 20 degrees up at the top, and I'm going to label my scale in jumps of 2. If you have a bigger piece of paper with more squares on it, you could use a different scale. Okay, I'm just doing it based on the squared paper we've got here. So along our our x-axis, how many months do we have in a year that we need to plot onto our graph? There are 12 months in a year, so we need to fit 12 months across our x-axis. Let's see if we can do 2 squares per month. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. We can't do 2 squares per month, as it only takes us to September, and we've got 3 more months we needed to fit on the end there. Let's see if we can do 1 square per month. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, looks like it's going to have to be 1 square per month. So let's etch that in onto our graph, and you can put the letter abbreviations for each month. I would put it underneath your marking. As remember, when we are plotting points, our markers on our line graph, they have to sit on the line. They don't sit in the middle of a square. Okay. Okay. Right. Now it's time for us to plot our data from our table onto our graph. I'm going to show you a couple of examples, and then I want you to have a go at finishing it off. So let's start with January. I need to plot 4 degrees. So I've got my finger on January, and then I need to go up my y-axis until I find 4 degrees, which is there. I move it along so that it is above January. You can either do a little dot or you can do a little cross. February, 5 degrees. So here's February. I'm going to go up my y-axis till I find 5. So there's 4. And then my next jump is 6. So where would 5 be? 5 would go halfway between 4 and 6. So find halfway. You might want to use your ruler here too to find halfway and go across and put your little dot in. March is 7 degrees. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Where's 7 degrees going to be? Once again, it's going to be halfway between 6 and 8. And you can plot that on your graph. I would like you to finish the rest of the months by yourself. You can pause the video now whilst you finish off your graph. Right, now you've finished off your graph, you can use your ruler to join your marks together. So I can join my January with February. I can join my February with March. And you can connect the rest of your months going up. Okay, and you should be able to see a line and see a pattern or a trend in your months. You can pause the video now whilst you finish doing that. Right, now you've got a completed table, we're going to have a look, a completed graph. Now we're going to have a look at interpreting your line graph by reading these questions underneath. You need to be able to look at your graph and tell me which was the warmest month. Think about the relationship between warm and cold and temperature. Which was the coolest month? What was the temperature in November? In which month was the temperature 12 degrees Celsius? And what does the graph show about the temperature in London? For number 5, you're going to be thinking about the pattern and the trend that you see in your line graph. Have a go at that. I would love to see some photographs of some of your finished line graphs. If you can email them to us, that would be fantastic. Any questions, feel free to let us know. There is then a second line graph which you can complete. This time the difference is one of our units of measurement is time. Okay, so following the same process that we have just done, but with this second table of data. You can then go on to complete some of the tasks that went out on Friday the 13th that are in your home learning books, where it's asking you to go around and collect data in your household and put that information into a table and into a graph. Happy graphing, everybody.